And today is a sign in which she is keeping that promise. That our communities in rural Arizona, our businesses, our livelihoods are important, and by her signing this bill, it just goes on to show that. Our communities are at risk when it comes to wildfires. We do not have the resources as a state. We cannot rely on the federal government, not only on issues like the border, but on also fire management. And here is a prime example, and I got to thank my colleagues in both the State House and the State Senate for standing with me on this policy, because that's what got us the votes to get the emergency clause to enact this bill today. So I want to thank them as well. We are extremely grateful, Governor Hobbs, in rural Arizona, that this kind of action is happening now today as we're facing many, many threats in rural Arizona communities. With that, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if everyone wants to get in closer for the signing, please.
It's the only way you'll get in the picture.
Don't take my picture.
We'll take off the hat.
I'll take it off while she signs the bill. How about that?
You guys on the my left, come in a little bit closer, please. Yeah.
Who knew you had hair under that?
But everyone had completely natural.
I'm a little nervous.
You do this wrong, she doesn't sign any more of your bills.
Great.
All right, and then just give her some room to slide back out. She's gonna come back to the podium.
You never give me a pen.
I'll bring you one next time.
All right, Howie, it's all yours.
Okay. Well, good morning, Governor. I appreciate, I do know a lot about 2751, thanks to Mr. Cook. I do have another question on some other stories we're working on. Your former Secretary of State, there's about 70,000 high school seniors in this state who are eligible to vote, who haven't voted. And you know, 70,000 can be a margin of victory in somebody's race. How do you get high school seniors interested? How do you get them registered? How do you get them interested in the process?
Well, there is a program we are engaged with, and I assume the secretary continued that, that specifically focuses on voting eligible high school seniors. There's a competition. I went out one year and did an award for the school that won that competition. And I think the secretary is still engaged with that program, and I think it's called Inspire to Vote. I can't remember.
And yet we still have 70,000 high schoolers who said, why? I mean, how do you make it relevant to them? It's nice to say you ought to get out, you all ought to get out and register to vote. Is there something you could say to them, an issue, we don't have marijuana on the ballot or something?
I think people get engaged when they figure out how it affects their lives. I remember back in 2018, we had Red for Ed, we had March for Our Lives, and high school students led that March for Our Lives movement. They were at the Capitol with name badges on, and they had the date that they were eligible to vote. They knew, and they directly connected that with the lack of leadership they saw in our elected officials on the issue of gun violence, particularly in high schools. And so I think there has to be something that connects it to their lives, and it's incumbent on people running for office to make that connection with them, to inspire them to get out and vote.
Barb, do you have a question?
Yeah, just some general questions about the bill itself. Talk about just the significance of this, how, what kind of impact we're going to be seeing with the signing of this, the partnership.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a tough summer out there.
Yeah, we always rely on resources from out of state to help with wildfire season, as well as reciprocating that partnership. Going directly through the federal government is cumbersome, it takes time, it's not as expedient, and this compact will help us have those shared resources more readily available. And that's really important as we're dealing with, wildfires all the time, not specifically contained to a season, even though we still talk about wildfire season. I don't know, Tom or John, if you want to add to that at all?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, what this compact does is it allows us to be way more efficient in ordering resources, like the governor said, and sharing resources. And it not only applies to, the actual suppression of wildfire, but it actually helps us provide resources for pre-positioning resources when needed. When there's high areas of fire risk across the state, it allows us to put resources near those areas where we can be more responsive. And of course, this is in coordination with our local partners at the districts and departments. So it just gives us a lot more flexibility. And as I don't know if it was mentioned previously, but we not only have access to the resources in the 7 compact states, but by extension, we have the ability to reach out to resources in over 30 states across the country. Arizona has been one of 5 states that has not been part of a fire compact for a long time. Today we remedied that. And so this really provides a lot more resources and the ability for us to be more responsive to wildfire across the state.
And, Governor, is it going to be funded through the resources in this year's federal budget, or you're going to be biting your nails when September comes around and they may not come to a budget in Washington?
That is not going to happen, but I'll let you take that one too. Sorry.
As far as budgeting is concerned, this does not add additional burden on our existing allocated budget. Every of the resources that we would be securing or sharing would be all within existing budgetary limitations. And so whether that's federal or state especially. So just want to make that clear.
Does anybody over there have questions? All the way on the right, yep.
Could you address how climate change causes some of these wildfires and how this bill maybe will help?
Well, climate change is directly related to the severity and frequency of wildfires that we experience with drought, increased fuel availability. So this bill isn't necessarily going to address that directly, but it will address the resources we have available for, as the director just spoke about.
Others? Cameron, yep.
Yes, Governor Hobbs, you announced last year, as part of your hit emergency, $200K to reimburse cities and agencies.
Mm-hmm.
But only $1,600 was given out, right? So, do you think that the program was a success, or last year, or you think you have a plan or anything differently this year?
Part of the strategy on heat relief was not only declaring the state of emergency, but also the heat preparedness plan. So we're working in a much more coordinated manner as we head into the hot summer season this year, so that folks are more aware of what's available and how we so it was just a lack of utilization of those resources. But they're still available, and we're doing a lot more proactively because of the heat preparedness plan that we put together.
Governor, you got anything? You got about a dozen bills the other day from the House. Anything else you're going to bless us with today?
I am taking action today. I cannot tell you what that action is.
Howie, you can wait just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. It sounds like you don't know.
Honestly,
It'll be just between us, Governor.
all right. Is that what you want to be your last question, or do you want to have a question that you might
No,
get
I
answered?
want to find out what else you're going to be signed and vetoed today.
You will know when everyone else does.
Or you can ask Christian. Okay, if that's it, then we're going to wrap.
Well, just
Right.
one more thing.
Yeah.
As you know, unless, I suppose, and they didn't say this, but obviously if they come up with a budget before June 4th, the House does not meet again until June the 4th. So I get some kind of visceral reaction from you. Are you worried that we may not get something done before June 4th, and you
No.
resign to?
We are actively engaged in the budget process, and I'm very optimistic we'll have something ready to go by June 4th.
Is that how far apart we are?
No, that was an emphasis on ready to go.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor.
Governor State Board, for this one, so quick picture.